Okay, so this is now the third time that I'm having problems with this internet. Seriously, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my end. I don't know if it's Adetola's end. I don't know if it's just Instagram's end. I don't know, so I'm not too sure. But the backup of the backup will not come back for us. Adetola, tell your husband that we are going to release you very soon. That please, you should stop sending people to us, okay? That don't worry, we will send you back. We know that it's okay. So please talk to him. Send him a message now that it's okay. You'll be back with him soon. So we're trying to connect with her again. So sorry, guys. It's definitely an internet problem. We don't know where it's coming from. It could be from anybody's. We don't know if it's us or it's Instagram. So we don't know. So we do apologize for this. But this is such an interesting conversation that I really don't want to just let it go like this, because there's so much knowledge in this lady's head, this leper, that thin girl. There's so much knowledge in her head that we want to take it out and just give it to you. So you found out that it was your friend's wife.
Wife.
Yes. And then you now went to go and do what next?
No, I didn't tell him. I didn't bother because I didn't want to cause family problems.
You didn't tell him?
No. But my point is, we just need to be careful. You come across all sorts of clients, the very patient ones. So by the way, I didn't remember to mention that we also have 2 churches that use our event space. Daystar Christian Center uses our church as their Lekki center, and we have one of the Redeemed churches that holds their midweek service on Wednesday mornings in our their like breakfast meetings or service at the event center. So you would come across all sorts of people. Again, when we have events that runs into late in the night, we have to work overnight to set up for Daystar on Sunday morning. So it's sometimes a lot of work for us. Yeah, it is actually, because you weddings these days, after parties run into like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes. And once people are in that mood, stopping them is one of the most difficult things, as simple as it sounds. You would expect people to be tired. I mean, they've been there since 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. or something, but I don't know what has happened. People just never get tired these days. But it is what it is. We have to still walk around the clock, like overnight, to set up. Sometimes we have events on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, church on Sunday, 2 services. So it's not always very easy, but like I said earlier, I think is what I believe I'm called to do. So then talking about workers.
Workers, though. Workers must be something else.
Yeah, talking about workers, I think I would say that one of the most difficult things has been getting the right people for the job. And at some point, I thought it was a problem that was peculiar to me or to the industry. But I found out that it's a general problem. And I pray and just hope that the education system gets better in Nigeria and we're able to churn out better graduates. I'll just leave it that way.
So you want a miracle to
happen. There's a lot
of
work that needs to be done.
I don't think it's going to be in our lifetime. So for that one, I'm not sure what I can say with that one, because
oh my God,
when I see some of the applications and things that people write and they're English, and they, some people are even graduates of English, and I'm thinking, and you're writing this, I don't even know what to say. So,
so things. I mean.
So what kind of events do you have there? I know you mentioned church. I know you mentioned weddings. What other kind of events can you do? Because it seems like you're a multi-purpose venue.
All sorts of events. So I don't know if you know the annual LYDA, Bankole Williams's LYDA. So we also hold that at the venue, and that's like a seminar or whatever. So there's actually absolutely no kind of event that we cannot host at the venue. We've had situations where banks come in to hold their team bonding events. They don't even use the hall. They just use the open space, the car park outside. Wow. We've had, I don't know if you remember the Hallelujah Challenge. We held the Hallelujah Challenge held at the Glitz event center.
I remember. I remember.
I know you'd never forget that. So, so diverse kinds of event. There's actually no type of event we cannot hold. It's just a matter of turning the event center into what you want it to be. That's all. And it really doesn't take that much.
Okay, so a lot of people that are here want to learn from, or they're going to watch it later, they want to learn from you. So, what sort of steps does an entrepreneur that wants to go into business of owning an event space need to carry out? Do they need to put aside a certain amount of money? Do they need special permits before they can embark on the project? What sort of things do they need to look out for before deciding to open an event space?
So, well, I would say that just like every other event, it's advisable that you put your business plan and plan structure in place. So what I find is that a lot of people just jump into business without having a plan or a structure. It may sound not funny, but too much. But trust me, you would understand how much you need it when the whole thing starts. Despite the fact that I had a business plan, I had everything all planned out, so many things still had to change along the line. So imagine that I didn't even have a plan, So like every other business, have a proper plan, professionally done, Of course, it's important to have money, but I won't say this is the specific amount that you'd need to put aside. And the reason is because the kind of business this is, that's the events venues, there are different sizes. I talked about the big hall, the small hall. There are some venues that have just the big hall, the size of the big hall. Some others have the size of the small one. Some others have two. Some others have what they have is bigger than even our own big hall, for example. So I mean, look at a hotel, for example. So it's going to be difficult to say, oh, this is the amount of money you need to put aside. A lot will depend, and look at the size of our own space compared to some other venues may not have that kind of, large land size, that the venue sits on, So it really depends on how far or how big you want to go. I wanted that kind of size because I knew I wanted to put two marquees on the structure within the same premises. I didn't want to have, to be shuttling between two different event venues or dealing with two different business, in the same industry. So it really depends on how far you want to go, how big you want to go. But most critical is that I have a professionally done business plan written, and have a structure in place. Know that when you're recruiting, for example, you have an organogram, you really may not have hired the person that's going to fit that space, but at least know that, I'd need a facility manager at some point. You may not need it from the beginning, but at some point you need one. So those are the kind of things you should know. As you go on, things will change, most definitely, but it's easier when you're working with a plan than working without one.
Okay, so I mean, you say working with a plan, but we work in a country where nothing is predictable. I mean, I know that abroad you have a plan, you can follow it, and give or take, out of 8 out of 10 times, your plan will work. I mean, a lot of people that I'm sure will say to you, seriously, that like you're saying, get a business plan in this Nigeria where I might say that, okay, I'm getting this land. Okay, let's look at something for I know a little bit about your business, for example. I'm sure when you got your land there, you were not aware at the time of the issue of the sea breeze and the rust that it will cause, if I'm right. How do you factor for something like that in a business plan? Because if you're operating on just the barest amount of money, and then you suddenly get hit with this thing where rust and the sea breeze is affecting everything around you, how do you deal with that?
So at the time I was writing the business plan, I had no idea that we would have that problem. So the event center is in front of the beach, and so we deal with, because the water is salty, even the breeze that blows on the building, the office structure alone. So for example, I don't know how long ago you drove past the event center, you find that we brought down the office structure already and we're putting up block work. What I've found is that in almost 4 years, on repairs, on maintenance, we've spent almost what we would have spent to put up a proper block structure. all because of the rust,
Wow.
because we had to use a lot of iron and things like that. So I thought the whole the shutdown period is a good opportunity for us to quickly do that, because again, carrying out maintenance and all that is sometimes difficult because people are always using the venue and all that. So this is a good time, and that's what we are using this period to do. All the necessary maintenance that we need to do, all the necessary renovations and all that, we're doing all that. So, I mean, most certainly that did not form part of my business plan. But remember, I mentioned earlier that as time goes by, you may have to change or adjust or amend certain things. But it's better to work from a place of having a plan than none. The peculiarity of our country, let me put it that way, is not peculiar to, it's not about the event industry alone. Other businesses also suffer this kind of maybe setbacks with their plans and all that because of the country that we operate in. So as much as we trust and pray that things will get better, we're not going to walk away from, we still must do business. Not all of us are going to be bankers or remain bankers. Some of us are still going to be entrepreneurs and business owners and drivers. So whatever it will take to make it work, we still have to do it. And I believe that's how we're, so I spend a bit more on maintenance and repairs because of that problem that we encounter. Those of us in that axis encounter. Those that are not there may not have the same kind of experience. This is just peculiar to us because because of where we're located, and that's because the beach is just across the road. So I would say that. But by the time after the first year, and I saw the kind of problem we had, by the time we're budgeting for the next year, of course, by default, we had to increase our budget for renovations. And there were certain things, for example, that we budgeted for in the first year that we never really used. For example, we thought we would put up billboards across Lagos or whatever. But when we got into the business, we realized that wasn't necessary. The business sort of markets itself, so the money that we had put aside for marketing, we sort of split it. And part of it went into the budget for renovations and maintenance. And then part of it went, there are certain events you would hold that you have to give certain kind of discounts for certain strategic reasons, So we also try to put that under certain budgets, just so that, if I give a discount, believing that, this person is whoever, and that by holding this event at the venue, it would bring the kind of crowd that we want and advertise the event center. So rather than putting up billboards in Lagos, we'll push the differential, the discount that we gave into our marketing costs, because we'll treat that like it's marketing, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is for us. So there are certain events like that we've had to get a certain kind of discount. We just push that into the marketing cost. So every discount also, there's an explanation for every discount. Let me put it that way.
So when we look at it, I want to touch on like the finances a little bit here, because it's a very big capital outlay for this sort of thing. So when you looked at the land, you said that you have that Glitz is on 10 plots of land. So if somebody wanted to get an event space, how would you advise them to go about it? Do they say to themselves, okay, I've got X amount of money in my account, I'll use that, or I should go and get X amount of a loan, I will use that, or is it a mixture of the two? How do they decide how much to spend? Because sometimes until you actually do the business, you don't know whether you're going to be able to make, 100 million a year to service the loan, or you're only going to end up making 20 million a year. And you're also a banker, so you can also bring those what kind of risk factors do people need to consider when they're particularly thinking about either purchasing or leasing land?
Okay, so Glitz is on about 12 plots. It's about 2 acres actually. So that's about 12 plots, by the way. So now, yes, I was a banker, but one thing was clear to me when I was trying to set up the event center: bank loan was not an option. Because I knew, for me, for me, and this is me speaking for myself, because I knew that it would be dead on arrival for me. So my focus was more on...
Explain that to us. Why would it be dead on arrival?
So, because the cost of getting a loan was too high. And I didn't want the kind of pressure that would come with it. That's number one. Number two, I was a new entrant into the market at the time. I didn't have the pedigree. I didn't have the history, the kind of things that the banks would be looking out for. I didn't have it. So it would have been difficult for me. And remember, that was like my first major business as an entrepreneur. So it would have been difficult for me to prove to the bank that they could trust me with their funds. That's number two. Number three, the bank would require that you contribute a certain percentage that at the time I knew I may not have. But I looked at other options and I thought, I know that there are organizations or there are individuals that have money and we're looking for where to invest. So I thought I would put my focus more on such corporates or such persons. And that's what I did. I just focused more on getting investors and all that. And it was a bit difficult, because again, the investors had to be convinced. So you do a lot of explaining, defending, talking about the figures, talking around the figures. I had someone who once said to me that, oh, it's a woman's thing. I'm not interested. I'm not going to put my money in it, but yeah, but my argument at the time was, I don't even know if it's a woman's thing actually, because there are so many venue owners in Lagos. Trust me, a lot of them are men.
Yes. And
we have an association,
and the world are owned by
men.
So
we have an association in Lagos, Association of Venue Owners in Lagos, Nigeria, and I think most of our members are female owners. So I don't even really think it's a woman's thing, but well, that was the opinion of an investor, a potential investor at the time. So I thought at the time I was better off, and I do not regret it. It was a better decision than taking bank loan. It's less stressful and less. Yes, you still have to put up a defense. Yes, you still have to convince the investor that the ROI, the return on investment, was worth it for them. You have to convince them that their money was going to come back. That's very important. So you have to also look for ways to also cut costs to reduce what you need to spend. But so for example, I'll give you an example. Someone was going to set up an event center and approached me for advice and guidance. When I was going to set up, I didn't just jump into the industry. I spoke with a few people that were already venue owners. So again, it's okay to humble yourself and talk to people that have walked the path that you want to walk. There's nothing wrong with it. So I talked to a few people. There are few people I tried to talk to that were not willing to provide support, and that's understandable. It's okay. But then I still found two people, that I was able to talk to and sort of handheld me and took me through the whole process and all that, and that really helped. And I've also had people that have set up event centers after me that have approached me for advice, and I literally sort of introduced them to the vendor that supplied my tent, my chairs, my tables, everything. So for those that I've helped also, using my own templates, it was easy for us to come up with a budget for them, if you get what I mean. Okay. So this is the size of tent you need, and the size of the tent has a lot to do with the size of the land that you have.
That's right.
Because you still need to carve out parking space, your office structure, your convenience, the toilets and the bathrooms, your changing room. So there's still a lot that you need to take out of the land before you now put the tent on it. So it's not because you have 1 acre of land, you just go and dump. There's a bit of technicality to it. So we sat down, looked at all that, and then I engaged my own tent supplier on our behalf, and he shared the prices of the different tents and decide the number of guests that he could seat with us, and that helped her make a decision as to the size of tent she would take and the price. And so we also got prices of chairs, tables, everything she needed. The only thing she didn't do was to have light and sound, because it's your industry, that's a bit complicated. So she didn't just go into all that. She said she didn't have the energy for it, all that. So, but at least that helped her. So again, talk to people that have been there. It's not everybody that holds back information. There are still a few nice people, trust me. And that really helps.
So if I'm getting what you're saying right, your advice to people that are, Jocelyn Kona says, thank you, hope I can talk to you for advice. Drop her a DM. Adetola is a lovely person. If she can assist you, she will assist you. So what you're saying here now is that your advice, if we're looking, there's people that are not everybody on here is Nigerian based, there are people outside of it, but we're looking at the Nigerian environment. If you can, you're saying don't go down the loan route, go down the investor route if you can. Try and find an investor that is ready to pump into the money. Now, there's two things
That's
I
what I
want to
did at the
emphasize.
time.
Yes.
But let me also say something very quickly, Shola, before you go on. Just a few days ago, I heard. So now, I mean, the banks are all over the place. What do you need? What do you want? All those kind of things. And I'm aware that because of the new CBN regulation that makes it compulsory for a certain percentage to go into, this set of loans and all that, a lot of banks no longer have a choice. That's number two. Number three, I know that a lot of banks now have some women-focused. That's for women now this time around. Women-focused or gender-focused loans, and they are now reasonably priced. So things that, I mean, we set up Glitz in 2015 was when we started putting this together. Things are a lot better now, trust me, even with the banks. So whoever was taking a loan, for example, at a single digit 9%, that's fantastic. I'm aware that CBN has a couple of interventions for things like this and all that. So if you can get it at the time, it wasn't anything near single digits. You get what I mean? It was in the 20s and going close to the 30s. So it didn't make sense at the time. But if you could get something that's cheap enough at this time, then please, very well go for it. What I'm concerned about is the fact that it must be well priced, such that you're not killing your business even before starting. That's it for me, as far as banks are concerned.
Let's look at investors, because a lot of people that are on here may not necessarily understand how it works with investors. Okay, some people believe that if you get an investor that they own the business and you are just working for them, you understand that really it's not really worth it. That's why some people don't want to get investors. Explain in as layman's term as you can how it works with investors. What are the benefits? And then what are the sort of percentages that people should be considering? What is a no-no? Is it normally 50-50? Is it 70-30? Is it 20-80? How does it work when you're looking at coming up with the kind of figures? And what do the investors expect in return? Sorry, I know this is a long-winded question, but I'm just going to give you some of the points as well that I want you to harp on. So when they put their money in, do they expect to get their money back in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years? When they get their money back and some dividends, do they walk away from the business or do they stay in the business? How do those sort of things work?
So, yeah, Shola, a lot depends on, number one, how well you or the investor negotiates. I always advise people, if you do not have a good negotiator, please get one. If you know you're not a good negotiator, please get one to speak on your behalf. It's with investors, it's extremely critical. And I'll tell you, if I was an investor and I was putting money in a business, I'll be asking for as much as I can get. The other person will be offering me as low as he or she can offer. So it really depends on how well one can negotiate. It's as simple as that in a layman's language. Now, some investors expect returns on a quarterly basis, on an half yearly basis, on an annual basis. So by the time the accounts are prepared at the end of the year, the profit is 30 million. We've agreed 70-30, and so we shared based on that. For us, for example, the first year we didn't post a profit, we posted a loss, But by the second year, things picked up. They got really better, and I mean, by God's grace, till now it's been good. I mean, not bad at all. But what I would say is that, so as not to put yourself under pressure, I would say for this kind of business, you mentioned earlier that it's capital intensive. Anything below 5 years may not be worth it for you. It's going to put you under a lot of pressure, a whole lot of pressure, which you don't want. And so, for any investor investing in this kind of business, they would have to be patient. Now, that is not to say that they cannot get returns on an annual basis from maybe the second year or the third in a worst case scenario. But at least the first year, you should leave it free, call it a moratorium period, like banks would call it, because you're not even sure that you're going to make profit in that first. As a matter of fact, some may not even make profit in the second year. So these are all the things you need to consider before you lock up anything. It's very, very important. And my belief is once you sign it off, whatever it will take you to deliver it, you're going to have to. So it's better you discuss these things very clearly ab initio before you go before you sign off. So I would say first year is a no for any form of return for both you. For the first year in Glitz, I wasn't earning a salary. I wasn't earning a salary. Yeah, I was just walking away. I was just working, on a daily basis and all. I run the place myself. That's not because I didn't want a salary, but the company was not even strong enough financially. I didn't have the financial muscle to even pay a salary for me at the time. So we just had to pay the staff salaries, take care of maintenance and other things, and keep looking and hustling for business. But by the time the company got a bit more comfortable, then I could afford to pay myself a salary. So again, we must learn to separate ourselves from our businesses. They are two different entities and they should be treated as such. That's another mistake that I see that a lot of entrepreneurs make. Adetola is Glitz, Glitz is Adetola. I don't do that. I try to separate. As a matter of fact, even staff of the different companies in the group are paid from their different accounts.
Right.
When, for example, as we speak, the event center hasn't earned anything the last how many months. So if we need to pay for anything, or at the end of the month when we need to pay salaries, if it means taking a loan from the other, which we've done from the other businesses, I've done that in the last 3-4 months. I take a loan, credit the event center account, and then pay salaries from there because the event center doesn't have money. So those are the kind of, it's not as easy as it looks on the outside. But as far as investors matter is concerned, please find a very good negotiator if you are not one. I would suggest you leave the first year free of any kind of repayment whatsoever. Even if you're taking a loan, please ensure you discuss moratorium of minimum of 1 year. That must be the minimum.
Give moratorium? I didn't know banks gave moratorium.
Oh, they do. Okay. So you could take a loan and tell them, I don't want to pay anything in the first 6 months, or I don't want to pay anything in the first 1 year. Particularly if it's a term loan or something like that. Oh, they do. You say again, if you don't know, you may not ask.
So this is what a lot of people have learned here, because even me, as I thought, I don't take bank loans generally, but even me, I've learned something new. So it means that if I ever wanted to do a project now, I would actually be asking them for that. Whereas before, I'd have just gone in and expected 30 days later I'm making my first payment.
Never. Minimum of 1 year. They will give you. Once you ask, they know, so they will give you. And they also understand the fact that you need time to set up, you need time to advertise the business, you need time to put things in place. And so the first 1 year is what they are giving you to get settled and start to make money so that you can start to pay back. It's that simple and straightforward.
That's definitely a good one. Well, I've learned something here. This is why I love Mahogany True Talk. So I still want to just carp on a little bit about the investors. So yes, it's about negotiating the best deal that you can get. But generally, I don't need you to say what your deal is, but generally, what are the sort of splits are we looking at for if you just brought in one investor? Is it normally 50-50, 60-70? Just generally, what is the average that most people would expect?
Typically, most popular, 80-20, 70-30. I'm not sure any investor won't do 50-50. Particularly,
so when you say 80-20, you're saying 80 to the investor, 20 to you.
Oh, yes. I was going to say, particularly if the investor is bringing in 100% of the financing, which is also possible.
Okay. So does that mean then, sorry, I know we're getting technical, but this is a big venture, and I think
50-50 is not impossible, but those are, I got a very good deal. I'll be honest, I got a fantastic deal, but trust me, I negotiated with every drop of blood in me.
But that means then, because this is what some people will be saying here, or people that watch it will be thinking, hold on a second, I come up with the idea. I'm going to be running it. It's me that come up with it. However, I'm going to be a junior partner in my own business. Why would I want to get an investor?
Delayed gratification, Shola. Money answers all things.
Explain that to people, please. What do you mean by delayed gratification?
So for example, with me, once Glitz is 5, after the first 5 years, things ease out and I have more control than I currently have. Almost 100%.
So let me just explain to people. So what I'm assuming that you're saying is that you have a 5-year contract, which might say, okay, they take 70%, I take 30. But once the 5 years is over, and if you have met all the conditions of the investor contract, then the ownership more percentage of the ownership transfers back to you. Is that right?
So yes, but mine is not 70-30. I got a better deal than I got something
I know,
better.
but I'm just giving that as an example.
Yes. So, but after 5 years, ownership moves. Do you understand? And then I literally take over completely, so to speak. But I also know that wasn't what was pushed to me initially. But one of the conditions also was that I had to give up the bank job, which between you and I was very tired of before. But
so
to them, it felt like
said, I want you. I'm going to drop my money. I want you on board, but I want you on board full time. If I'm dropping your money,
because
so they gave you certain conditions.
So yes, they'll give conditions, and you would also give conditions that, oh, I'm giving up my banking career. I plan to rise to the, to being a bank MD, but I'm giving it all up because of this business of yours, in quotes. Therefore, I'm insisting on this percentage. I don't know if you get what I mean. So,
yes,
which is why we also need to develop ourselves to the point where we have something to bring to the table. It does not always have to be money.
Yes, it's true. Skills, knowledge, what you have of the intellectual property can be second to none.
Absolutely.
I mean, why? Sorry, I know I've harped on the investor thing. Why I've harped on this is because a lot of people don't understand. When you set up an event management company or you're a caterer, you don't tend to need investors. Do you understand? For a lot of those businesses, not generally speaking. So you can say about it. But this is a very large, capital intensive, from getting your land to either building or buying a marquee or a structure. All the permits, the associations, the maintenance. Because, I mean, I was fortunate to work with you when you got it set up, and we know what we went through with generators, repaving, electrical works, redoing it, all those sort of things that go with it.
Yeah.
So it's important why you get an investor, and there's a reason for them. And like you said, it's about negotiating the key things. Now, a lot of people, when they look at you, they tell, let me not lie. So let me just tell you as it is now. Yes. When people see you, as far as they are concerned, you are Miss Moneybags. Like Miss Moneypenny from 007 James Bond. You only Miss Moneybags, okay? Because they believe that you are making money. Like you yourself said, it is rented on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You have churches there that are there standard, that are paying you your money and so on and so forth. But I want you to enlighten us, because I'm sure it can't be that easy. How do you deal with the finances? Because there's maintenance that you have to manage, yes, for the event space. I know that you have other businesses, but is this business, I know you said that the first year you didn't make money, second year wasn't too bad, and you get a little better. But are you making profit? But did you make profit because you are a good business person that has a banking background? Or are you able to say that anybody that gets into this business, if they do it right, can make a profit? And explain to us how they get to that stage.
So I would say that doing it right is extremely important. There are certain situations where we sign a retainership with organizations instead of paying for, maintenance or replacement of stuff as the need arises. In the long run, it's cheaper because it's more expensive to you to do as it comes and things like that. So, for example, something as basic as maintenance of our generators, we have a company that's on retainership of Glitz that comes in and services all the generators as and when due. If we don't do that, there's the tendency that myself or any of my colleagues may forget that the generator is due for service, and that will create a problem that will be bigger than and more expensive than servicing the generator. So we have a company on retainership for that. The sound, the lights, the same thing. We have a company that handles that it's their headache. I don't need to worry. They're the ones that remember when it's time to service it, actually. I don't even need to put that in my head, despite the fact that we have a schedule and all that for all that. So it may look to you like you're paying a lot, but again, these things, you don't have to pay them at once. You can also stagger the payments and all that. So you must study your finances. And to be honest, not all of us are good finance persons, but it's okay to employ, or again, so we have an accountant, but we don't have an accountant because, I mean, I didn't see the need paying an accountant on a monthly basis. I mean, that's not to say that businesses that have an in-house accountant are not doing things properly. Do whatever works for you and still leaves you profitable. For me, that's what's important. So it was important. I mean, it was a more business-wise idea for me to have an accountant, yes, that would handle the accounting, filing of accounts, paying of monthly taxes, paying of annual taxes, sorting out everything for a fee. Now, that annual fee, I then negotiated to pay it on a quarterly basis so that I'm not under pressure when it's time to pay. So I have an idea of what I pay monthly, salaries, for example, security, and all that, PHCN and all that. Then I have a schedule of what I pay on a quarterly basis, taxes as well and all that. Then I have a schedule of what I pay on a biannual basis and then an annual basis. So it's okay to have someone handle all these things for you if you're not, while we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. If it's not an area that is your forte, it's okay to get someone that will handle it. But I some of these things, having retainerships and co, in the long run is cheaper. Maintenance is not every type of maintenance. I mean, if one bulb goes off now, it's not everything that needs to be done in the immediate, to be honest. So you have to study your business and understand what works and will leave you profitable. Like I said earlier, it's not a charity organization. The whole essence is to do business and make profit. So whatever would work. However, so for example, when we started, the office structure was a porter cabin, but today, almost 4 years down the line, we're able to pull it down completely and then build up a proper office structure. At that time, we couldn't afford to do that. But today we can do it. So again, these things can be faced. You can do things, we started with some things, we're cutting down on some things, we're introducing new things. So things can be arranged and structured in such a way that, but what's most important is that study your business, understand your business, and do what works, and that will leave you profitable.
So is it a profitable business then? Because all I'm hearing is I'm spending money here, spending money here, spending money here, spending money. I can't. Where are you making the money?
I would say yes, it is. The only reason why it looks like that is because of this period, the whole COVID thing. Because events are not happening and all that. If events were happening, I mean, this is July already. We're beginning to get into what we call our peak period, the peak season, where you're not you don't even that's season where we don't even give discounts. And that's the season where people get married the most, where people hold events the most, and now. So, but I would say yes, it's not a bad business to go into if you do manage it well.
KFA has joined. I'm sure Kemi is with us.
Hi, sister.
She's an event owner, and we've had her on, but we didn't speak to her about events, event spaces. We spoke to her about hiring of her equipment, and I'm sure
rentals.
Those
are the rental goods.
Sure, so seriously, I'm sure she might mention a few things as you're talking here. So one of the things that people have asked me to ask you, is this. There's different event spaces all over the place, okay? And there's different charges. You go to one space, somebody says it's 750, you go to another, it's 5 million, you go to another one, it's 3 million. And what does one take into consideration if I wanted to set up a venue? Yes. What would be the difference, for example, in if I was a KFA or I was a U? How would each of you determine the price? What is taken into consideration? So let me give you this kind of example. For example, for in housing, I don't know if it happens here, but I know abroad. Okay, there is an optimal price that whether you put swimming pool on the roof,
above
whether
which you
your
cannot go.
chandeliers are circulating and you have helicopter pads, it will not go above a certain price. So that's why I'm talking to you about pricing. Is that the same thing in your industry? What determines how you decide what to charge for rental?
Okay, so it's not the same thing in our industry, at least as of today. But let me also say that prior to now, there was even no association. But today we have the Association of Venue Owners in Lagos, Nigeria, and things are a lot more structured than it used to be. And we're having better structures, and things are getting better structured on a daily basis. But on the issue of pricing, the reason why there can be, one of the reasons why the pricing cannot be the same across board, or you cannot peg anything, is because number one, location. So the myself and KFA are around the same location. For example, what we pay as lease on the property is likely to be more expensive than what somebody in another location somewhere pays. I don't want to be too specific.
Okay.
I don't know if you get what I mean. That's number one.
I understand.
Number two, look at how big KFA is and look at the parking lot, how massive it is. If you go to some other venues, they don't have such parking, meaning they probably sit on a smaller sized landmass, for example. So these are some of the things you look at. I mentioned earlier that the our Maki also comes with sound, light, and all that, which is saving you costs on certain things that you would have paid your DJ or your band for, but you are no longer paying for. So these are some of the things that will not allow for aligned pricing, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
like I said, there's an association in place now that's helping with putting structure around things a lot more than it used to be. We're coming together now, doing things together, speaking in one voice on issues, and I believe that as time goes on, things can only get better.
Okay, so let's talk about your association, because I think it's a very good association. First and foremost, what's the full name of the association?
Association of Venue Owners in Lagos, Nigeria, AVOLN.
Okay. So
And by the way, KF is one of the executive committee members. Let me just cast her now.
KF is always she's chairman of her rental association.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me. I said earlier that a few people in the industry that when I was starting out, I spoke to, and they helped me with. So when I was trying to draft my vendor agreements and terms and conditions and all that, KFA, I don't know if she even remembers, but KFA was one I called, and she shared hers with me. So it was hers I used to structure mine. That's why I said earlier that, trust me, no matter how some people hold information and all that, there are still a few good people in the industry. And that's why I won't find it difficult to also help people that are coming. Trust me, the market is very huge, big enough for all of us to do business and thrive whilst doing business.
So, anyway, KFA, allow other people to join. Oh, are you the head of everything? You this camera. Anyway. So let's look at the association. First and foremost, why are you people prejudicial? Nigeria is made up of how many states, of how many cities? But this your association is restricted to Lagos only. Why? Okay, being more serious, why did you not open up and make it a Nigerian association?
So we are getting there. Let me tell you, even bringing venue owners in Lagos together is not easy. Talk more of now doing the whole of Nigeria. We know the way we are now, humans. So it's in the works. But we have to start with Lagos, make all our mistakes, correct all the whatever needs to be corrected. Once we get it right with Lagos, it makes it easier to expand than to start out big and then fail woefully at it. So it's in the works, it's in the plan.
It's in the plan. Okay, so I'm just starting. I'm about to get my venue. I hear of your association. Okay, I approach you, and my first question to me, after asking you how much is to join, I'll be saying to you, excuse me, what is the benefits of joining your organization? Is it not another talking shop? So what are the benefits exactly of joining the Association of Venue Owners of Lagos?
Okay. I wish KFA was here because she would have spoken on behalf of the ESCO. But I will try. I mentioned earlier that we now have audience with the Lagos State government. That's the kind of thing our association will give you. I couldn't have walked into Governor Sanwo-Olu's office and said, "Excuse me, please, my name is Adetola. I'm the CEO of Glitz. I'd like to see Mr. Governor." That's not possible. But as an association, we can do a letter to Mr. Governor and say that we'd like to see you, Mr. Governor. We're writing as members of Association of Venue Owners in the whole of Lagos. And Mr. Governor saw that and granted us audience. So that's the kind of, and whatever the ESCO is going to Mr. Governor to discuss, they are discussing on behalf of all members of the association, not on behalf of one person or behalf of the venues of the ESCO members alone. So those are the kind of things you benefit. When we're talking, because of the whole COVID thing, the association literally had the ears of the government, and we knew what to expect. We knew what was going to happen. As I speak to you, in the next few days, there's another meeting again with the Lagos State government team, just to sit down and come up with a structure for the industry post-COVID, as we prepare to resume events again. If there was no association, Mr. Mahogany, tell me how this would have been possible. With this whole COVID thing now, how would we be able to approach the government? Am I going to go and knock on the doors of KFA and say, "Excuse me, please, who is the owner? Madam, can we go to the governor together?" And then knock on other event centers? I don't know if you get what I mean. So those are the kind of things you enjoy, as an association. And we're able to come together on a daily basis. There's somebody sharing something on the group, or this is the challenge I'm facing. And you're getting at least advice from 10 people, 20 people telling you, "Oh, I've had this kind of situation in the past. This is how I handled it." You have people telling you, "Okay, I'll call this person on your behalf." We've had situations where venue was sealed up and someone put it on the group, "Oh, they just sealed my venue. They said I did this." And just a phone call to somebody to say, "Oh, please, you're an association member. Whatever the issue is, can you please unseal? Let's come to your office on Monday to resolve it, because she's having an event right now. You can't seal her up." And just that one phone call changes the dynamics. So it comes with a lot of benefits. Trust me. I don't think there's any problem really that I can have, or any situation. Even if I don't put it on the group, there's one person at least that I can call. I'll just dump the problem on them. They will solve it for me. They were there before me now, so they can't abandon me. And me, I'm one of the
Kemi says of KFA, she says you're all a family, you collaborate, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we understand the benefits to you that are the association members. So internally, it's beneficial to you. Externally, what are you bringing to the public? What are you bringing to event planners like myself? What are you doing? Is there legislation coming in? Is there standard practices? Because one of the biggest things that I will always talk about, yes, is venue overcrowding. All right? And it works on both parties. So what I mean by that is I book the venue with you, and I tell you I'm having 1,000 guests. Yes? On the day of the event, I come with 2,000 guests. And the venues allow me to bring in my 2,000 guests, despite the fact that there's serious health and safety issues, overcrowding, so many other things that can be going on like that. So what sort of things are you doing as an association to change the way members of the public view venues, and also how event planners view venues?
You know that COVID has even just helped and changed the dynamics completely already. So as it is now, we don't even have a choice. And I know that there are things we're working out. I don't want to be too specific, but there are things we're working on to standardize, to at least to an extent that we can. Certain things, if you get to KFA, she will tell you, "Oh, we don't do this." By the time you get to Glitz, you'll be hearing the same thing. We don't do this. So you won't have a choice than to work with, because everybody's going to be telling you the same thing. We don't do this. We don't do this. We don't do this. For example, when in the course of the lockdown, when we heard that the government was struggling with they were running out of bed spaces for the isolation centers. One of the things we did as an association was to come together to say that, "Oh, listen, guys. So this is information reaching us, is that the government is running out of bed spaces and all that. Our venues are locked up anyway. are there people who wouldn't mind giving up their venues to be used as isolation centers? And so we're able to put together 10 venues across different local governments in Lagos. And we wrote a letter to Mr. Governor informing him that if the rumor about not having enough bed spaces or isolation centers was true, then be informed that the Association of Venue Owners of Lagos, as our own contribution to the government's intervention on the whole COVID thing, will be willing to give some venues to the Lagos State government to use as isolation centers for the period. So that was one of the things we presented to Lagos. That can only happen with an association that's that structured. You get what I mean? So there are numerous ways, and whilst not trying to be too specific, as some things are still in the works or in the offing, there's a lot of collaboration that's going to be happening between us and the Lagos State government going forward, all things being equal. So we're going to be doing a lot together. And I'm also aware that the association is also in talks with other events-related associations. I also don't want to mention names. And so there's going to be a lot that we'll be doing together, so that when one venue is speaking, you hear the same thing from other venues. When one planner is speaking, you hear the same thing from other planners. When one rental company is speaking, you hear the thing. We're all in the same event industry. And there's going to be a lot of collaboration going forward. You're going to begin to see that going forward.
So my final question on the association is this. Are there any rules?
We've been talking about the association, by the way.
Yes, I know, but it's relevant to event space because it's all part of how we're seeing the future. Like, I don't really want to get into COVID-specific questions. I like to do them indirectly. And you're actually dealing with my indirect COVID questions. That's why I'm asking you these things.
I wish KFA was the one on this seat. So she'd have been asking all these association questions very easily.
Don't worry, she got her own.
Or Sheba, Mrs. Adelus.
When we did rentals, she did
Mrs.
it very well. So what I wanted to ask is, last one on association is this. Okay, so I've set up my space. I don't want to join your association. Okay. Are there any penalties? Are there potentially things that the government may do? Because it seems like you're in a prime position to force people to belong to an association in Lagos State. Or is it a situation where they do their thing, whatever they want to do is their business? How does it work with non-association members?
So, no, we wouldn't force anybody. We don't force anybody to join. We only try to appeal and help you see the benefits of joining so that you understand why you should join. However, if you still decide not to join, then it's fine. But the implication of that, just like anywhere else in the world, is that you would also not be able to enjoy the benefits that members enjoy. So when we say, we're speaking to Lagos State government on behalf of our members, or we're saying that, somebody had a problem and the venue was sealed and the president of the association is calling and saying, or intervening on behalf of the venue, the ESCO will only do that for their members. I'm not going to go around town intervening on behalf of people that are not. Let's be real. So the ESCO will only do that for their members. They would intervene on your behalf and give a commitment that whatever the issue is, by Monday will be in your office and we'll resolve it. They can only say that because you are their member and they have access to you and they know the kind of conversations that we have, encouraging members to do things the right way. So that when we're discussing with government, so for example, the conversation we're having with government, I talked earlier about all sorts of double charges and all that. Despite the fact that we have complaints about these charges, guess what? We pay. So even when we're sitting with Mr. Governor, we're having a conversation, we are letting him know that we want to be obedient or whatever citizens. And so we still pay all these monies. It doesn't mean we're happy paying. And it doesn't mean we think it's fair, but we still pay. But we think you should consider this and all that. When we're speaking to the government as per the whole COVID issue, we're speaking on behalf of our... By the way, I'm not part of the ESCO, Sola. So let me just point that out very quickly. I was only on the committee, by the way. So when I say we are, I'm referring to the committee. So I just thought I would drop that. So that's why I said it would have been better for KFA or Sheba, Mrs. Adelusi, to be on this seat. You're putting me on the hot seat now, but it's okay. So
that's right. True talk.
They cannot enjoy the benefits that members enjoy. It's as simple as that. So that alone is enough encouragement for anybody. We're all business people, and You see, being a member doesn't, trust me, it's not even anything significant that you pay as dues, considering the kind of benefits that you get. So I'd encourage, if there's any venue owner listening, please feel free to reach out to any of, majority of the venues. A lot of venues are actually members, but there are still some that are not. But the benefits far outweigh whatever it is that you consider the costs, I mean, if any.
KFA said you're representing the association very well, so well done on that.
KFA.
We trust the color when it comes to it, though. You know that she's, don't joke with her. So, finally, my final question to you. I've tried because of the cutting off, it got extended, so we really appreciate your time. We know that your fiance might be waiting for you. You know how to get it in there again.
Shola, you
So
have to say that.
it might be waiting for you, so we know we won't keep you for too much longer. I just want you to round up. This is an open question now, okay? Just for you to give any piece of advice that you want to give, any extra things we might have missed out on, the floor is all yours.
Okay, so I would say that always have a USP, a unique selling point. Whatever business anyone is trying to set up, trust me, there are so many, 1,001 of such businesses already in existence. So what is the extra thing? What's the unique thing that you're bringing to the table? A lot of us don't pay attention to that, but it's extremely important. I believe that, I mean, the world that we're in, innovating or dying, it's a case of innovate or die. So you must come up with ideas, innovation, things that would help the business survive in the case of pandemics or situations like this. Integrity is everything in this business or any other business at that. Relationships are vital. Do not burn bridges. Keep the line of communication open and have the can-do spirit. The spirit of excellence is extremely important. Whatever you do, give it your best shot. I always say, history is keeping records.
Wow, what a way to end.
So thank you very much, Mahogany, for the opportunity. Come on, I see you. And guess what has happened? From the last time I logged back in, I just couldn't see anybody joining or any comments anymore. So I'll go back and watch and try to read it. Because if I respond to any comment or anything, please, it's not.
Funny enough,
I didn't even see KFA
when,
in until you mentioned.
When we post it, the comments don't post anymore. I mean, Instagram have changed it.
Oh my God!
Post it with they don't post it with the comments anymore. They've anyway, you know, Instagram, they're always changing things, but they will be able to hear what you say. You can't see them. Don't worry. When it goes live, you'll see everything because I've been seeing you. So it happens sometimes. I don't know why it's like that. It's just how it is. But when we post it live, you'll see everything. You can watch it again. Right. People always come back to watch it. You'll get DMs and stuff like that. I mean, what I want to say is, Adetola, thank you so much. You've been absolutely amazing. You have given us insight into, I mean, I really love the bit about investors. That's been really good. What it's been like taking on such a large project, because I know people like yourself, KFA, what you have in terms of store is, in terms of, what's the word now? Your inventory is a lot. Do you understand? So thank you so much. And
thank you
everybody,
for having me. And
yes,
thanks to the Mahogany
we are
team.
waiting for the wedding date. Please announce the date. We shall be there.
That.
Mahogany, Magege, Wire, go and meet her.
Before
we know our job. Go and meet her. We know our job. So thank you, Adetola. You've been a great guest. We love you. Be good and take care. And we talk to you soon. And I'm going to finish with your track "At Last" by Etta Jones. You know why? I got you, baby. I got you. Good night, Adetola. Thank you,
Have
dear.
a evening.
You too. Everybody's been such an amazing show. Adetola has been a great guest. We're about to round off now. We don't have much time. We'll be back on Thursday with FFA Chat Room with an amazing guest. We wish you all the best. Be careful. Stay safe. COVID is real, guys. Be good and good night. This track is especially dedicated to Adetola, who recently got engaged. My sister, my friend, I love you dearly.